Hey, what's up, everybody? Here for another podcast episode. Super stoked to have Jared here from the Chamberlain Group. After a long 2 weeks and arduous citywide rezone. Yeah.
I watched a lot of it. It was good. It was interesting.
Too. Yeah, it was cool to see so many Calgarians like engaged.
Passionate.
I know a lot of folks were like, oh, you got it wrong because there's a big public hearing. It's like, no, like I wish all of our public hearings had that much like excitement around housing. And so
maybe elections.
Yes.
Maybe we could have that too.
Yeah. Like, maybe we're going to get more voters out, which would be a good thing. But yeah, no, man, I'm super. Thank you for joining me on this. Jared, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and your background, and then, we'll jump into a conversation.
Yeah. So we've been involved in real estate in Calgary for 20 years, since 2004. Makes me feel old when I say that. Mm-hmm. But we have a team, do real estate buying, selling, team of about 20, so including our assistants, and do a lot on YouTube, video marketing, help hundreds of families a year. So lots of fun.
Cool. And how'd you get in? Like, why real estate? I know you said you and your wife are the founders of the Chamberlain Group. Tell me a bit about that.
So Rebecca started first. I joined a little bit later. So we actually were in church ministry before.
Okay.
So I was a youth pastor, and we met there, and she got into it, and we both just kind of did it and met working together and still work together. So
cool.
It's a lot to parent, work, live, grow old, all of that together.
Yeah,
it's good.
Folks forget how much work that takes to do all that. Me and my wife worked together for a little while. So,
cool.
That was, it was an interesting time, but we still kind of do some side projects. So
But you don't do it anymore?
No, it's stressful, man.
It is a lot.
Like, I mean, we're working on a few things together, and it's still,
you have to know when to turn off each one.
Yeah. And it still goes that way, but I'm excited to have a little bit more distance. Cool. And so trading real estate all over, like the city, your team is active in every quadrant.
Around the city, outside of the city, we've done stuff. Some of our guys have even gone to Lethbridge and Canmore and done things in different areas too over the last couple of years.
Cool. Yeah. Well, so like, tell me about what you've seen, obviously been in the real estate industry in Calgary, in Alberta, seen the ebbs and the flows. What has that been like? And I think I'd like to get your perspective about what does it look like now for you, and where are we going? Because I feel like this might be a little bit different, but it's always interesting to hear what people say.
Yeah, I think you are correct that this momentum that Calgary's feeling is different than the last times. So 2007, 2014, we definitely saw some pushes in the market, but we didn't see this type of backing in terms of population growth. We didn't see this type of energy, I think, and focus. So I think what also has changed is Calgary is now, if you start looking at reports across the country, Calgary's now labeled on those reports, where that has never happened before.
Yeah.
And it's been really hard to like look at data across the country and see where does Calgary sit.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the last 2 years, it's easy to find that.
Yeah.
So that one change, economists in Toronto and Ontario now putting Calgary on those charts, that kind of says something.
Totally. Yeah. And it's funny because we were talking off camera, and I was talking to you about secondary, tertiary markets. And I was like, actually, I don't even consider Calgary that anymore. I was just in Edmonton, and I was like, there's a noticeable difference.
There is.
The energy, the vibe, the affordability. And I think Edmonton has a ton of potential.
So what's interesting is we actually just shot a video. It's coming out on Sunday, this Sunday, and it's all about Edmonton, the best neighborhoods in Edmonton and what's happening up there.
Yeah.
And same thing, like Edmonton, over the last 2 years, their median prices have stayed the same.
Yeah.
Where Calgary's have jumped, 50, 60, whatever thousand.
Totally.
And they're definitely poised to have a growth.
I think Edmonton is the next Calgary, and they have the good. I think they have the right infrastructure. They have the right bones. The stadium downtown. Unfortunately, a better hockey team at the moment.
It's true, and a better place to watch concerts.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, well, we're getting there though.
We'll knock, I don't know
Hopefully. Yeah, I heard there's a design floating around that not everyone's seen yet, but
that'd be good.
Yeah, so it's coming. Cool. But it's interesting. So we share that similar kind of concept around, the Alberta, momentum seems to be picking up. Yeah. What is that? What are you telling clients though? Because I think that's the thing that I'm most interested in as well. Like, I know realtors say, buy now. The best time to get in the market is now.
Today.
Yeah.
Because I want a paycheck.
But interest rates are supposed to come down. Like how are you and your team, and what are you seeing out there?
That is such a big question. But what let's start with the interest rate side of things.
Yeah.
So interest rates, here's the problem that we've had for the last year. We've been waiting for interest rates to adjust back down.
Yeah.
Now, if you actually look historically, where they are at is actually the historical average. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping that they're going to go low again.
Yeah.
That's really what people are hoping to have.
Yeah.
And so if you end up having that low interest rate and you're waiting for that change, what's happening in the meantime? It's not happening everywhere across Canada, but in Calgary, prices are going up.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it is cheaper for you to jump in at higher interest rates now.
Because not every,
because it's actually going to cost you more but probably as prices continue to increase because supply, demand, all the things that are tied to that, it's pushing prices up.
Yeah.
And that's just rolling into, it's going to cost you more if you wait 2 years.
Sure. Yeah.
There's just no rhyme or reason about it.
So obviously, like, I think affordability is a good and bad thing for agents.
Yeah.
Obviously, if
it's hard.
Yeah. There's like, how do you draw the line? You want your clients to sell at a good value. Yeah. You want them to buy at a low value. You can't predict the future, but how is your team looking at housing affordability? And is it just going to get harder and harder when you have first time home buyers? Like, how are you talking to them?
So I was just talking to a family member 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he had a friend. He's younger than I am, and he has a friend that just built a new place in the Northwest. And the only way they were able to get approved was to actually have a suite in the basement and that income to go towards their qualifications.
Yeah.
And more, you're hearing buyers, especially newer buyers, okay with having suites and having options because that's kind of the only way to do it.
Music to my ears, man.
And so, because prices are getting so high.
Yeah.
And so I know there's a lot of conflict, a lot of frustrations when it comes to all of the zoning changes that have happened and are happening.
Yeah.
However, for people to purchase those properties, they kind of need that as an option.
Yeah.
And so it's not that I'm for it or I'm against it.
Yeah.
That's just the reality for some.
Sure.
Because you need that income. So whether they go build something new with a suite or they go in inner city and they buy something old and have that, rent the garage out too while you're at it.
Cool.
But it's always been multiple streams of income. If you're buying a property and it's rental, have multiple streams.
Yeah.
Because then if one stops, you have the other ones.
Yeah.
And it keeps you going. So it's just basic investment knowledge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's now turning into first time, second time buyer knowledge.
Yeah. I like that
before.
Yeah. There, you coined it.
But it's so true, right?
I do want to unpack that with you further. We'll get into it. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, like, I've seen a lot of real estate folks pivoting into the rental property management business because they're seeing trends towards more rental versus buyers. We had Mayor Gondek on the podcast, and she got in trouble for saying that for some reason that there's a newer preference towards renting, and I think she was villainized because people kind of took it out of context and were saying the mayor of Calgary thinks you should never own. She never said that. What she said was there's a subset of a group of people that are renting and choosing to rent for longer than they are buying. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on renting versus owning and what you're seeing.
It depends on your life and where you're at. Yeah. And I find it is kind of interesting how there is, some people might not like me saying this, but there is something very fascinating. And I think I've heard a lot of people talk about, well, I'm just going to rent for a long time. I'm going to put money into my business. I'm going to grow it. And then I'm going to buy my dream house. I'm going to buy my forever house. Well, here you are living life and wanting to be free as a bird, and then you're going to lock in the rest of your life. At some point, you're not going to do that. You're just not going to do that. And so, when you're going through that, you do have to realize that that there is a property ladder. This is something that is real. And it is sometimes better to get in the market. Now, if you want to rent versus own, to do it. And maybe you want to put money into a different investment. compared to a house,
Yeah.
your own house.
Yeah.
And that's fine too.
Yeah.
Then go do that. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Regardless, someone has to own the home.
For sure.
So there's going to be investors and purchasers, right?
Totally. And it's funny you say that because I have folks who have like come out and invested in rental properties, but then still choose to rent, which is so like it's an interesting thing to say, like, I'm going to
they're offsetting their own rental.
Yeah. They're just like, well, no, like we want the flexibility. We travel a lot. Like we want to own property.
But I want the property.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, that's interesting
I have
and
heard of that
fascinating.
too.
Yeah. So yeah. Cool. Well, okay. You started to touch a little bit about secondary incomes, about zoning.
Yeah.
Let's jump into that.
Sure.
Citywide. I was on a panel with the chief economist of the CBRE who sent out this like refusal letter with regards to, not CBRE, the Calgary Real Estate Board.
Oh, Krebs. Yeah.
Krebs said they did not support it.
Yeah.
And I was trying to understand the logic of the lack of support. And so when I think about the real estate industry, what are some of the negatives that you think would arise from Citywide that would have a real estate impact?
So impact of real estate in that definition would kind of come to fruition in terms of property values.
Yeah.
And potentially individuals and their feelings and emotions.
Yes.
And the owners. So those could be the negative things that could come.
Sure.
And so and again, we were talking before, so I'll just jump there. But
do it.
I believe that the impact that this rezoning will have is going to be different in different communities.
Sure.
So you can't just say the Canadian real estate market is doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
And truth be told, you can't say the Calgary real estate market is doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Because Inglewood is different than Falconridge, which is different than Midnapore.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen in Midnapore is going to be one thing, and what's going to happen in Inglewood is going to be another thing.
Yeah.
And it's already happening. It's been happening forever. And so these changes can't impact everyone the same. Now, I do like how they have the one-to-one zoning, or the parking,
in the outer. Yeah.
Because that is going to limit a little bit. Some of these communities aren't really built for a ton of people, but neither are the inner cities. It's so full.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think I saw you say, like, you posted, Civic Works had said at the middle symposium that the odds are the most likely sites, once you put them through the funnel, to get to this built form.
I think it was 1.8% of the sales over the last 90 days could possibly turn into one of these big 8-duplex units.
Yes.
Which I was shocked when I pulled the numbers.
Yeah. Because the way that we look at it, everything happening, it's like, oh my God, everyone's tall wall right next door.
Of it.
Yeah.
Now, but having some density, having a 3-plex, a duplex, basement suites, garage suites, I mean, across the city, that definitely can help.
Yeah.
But it's still... It's still a change.
Yeah.
People still are nervous about that.
Yeah.
Because those that own want to preserve what they've built.
Sure.
And those that want to move forward with this are excited for change. And so you just have two different perspectives. And I don't know if they'll ever meet.
So let's get specific then, because I want you to answer this. And obviously, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but your perspective. Let's use Altador as a community.
Yeah.
We built a 20-unit development called Peaks Townhomes in an R1 kind of dominated kind of portion of Altador.
Yeah.
There was a house next door. It was listed for $900,000. It was a teardown. Sold in one day. And what I was interested in was
how long ago?
This happened 12 months ago.
Okay.
So we had built our 20. They'd come in after the fact and bought it. And I think at the time, like we had gotten appealed. Everyone's like, you're going to ruin our home values.
Yeah.
No one's going to want to build single family homes. And right now there's a single family home under construction. Your standard, it looks like a triple car garage. Like it's big.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have to be well over $3 million just on what I know a build costs.
And they probably got a higher height allowance because of next door.
What's next door?
So they were able to do more.
Yeah. And so I guess for me, what I think about is like the existing single family homes that are like that.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be fewer and fewer of them that might get built, or there still might be people investing in them. But I don't see how that would ever negatively affect their value. And that's the one thing I wanted to ask you is like, let's use that community as a specific use case.
Okay.
Would single family homes that are new construction from your perspective come down in value?
Not like that.
Okay.
I don't think in inner city neighborhoods,
proper inner cities,
where this has already been happening.
Yeah.
I don't think, because there's the expectation that is happening.
Yeah.
But if you go back to Mindapore and Falconridge,
yeah,
that's not the expectation.
Sure.
And that's not what has been or could have been until this last week.
Yeah.
So that, I don't believe it's going to negatively affect it.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to make people cautious.
Totally.
That's all it really is.
And I think in like communities like that, you probably wouldn't see a full scale.
No.
Because no one would want to make that type of bet. They may add a suite. They may add 3 or 4
Unless
units.
you got some ridiculous builder that's just like, watch what I can do.
Yeah,
and you're like,
sure.
that was dumb.
Yeah.
So, but you're not gonna see that anyways. But Altadore is gonna be a great place. But I think that land value is already there, and it's gonna keep going.
So maybe one thing I'm curious on your perspective about is general affordability. Because a lot of folks is like, this will not affect affordability. This will not help affordable housing. My whole thing that I've said is like, listen, everything helps. This is one of a number of different strategies. But the biggest thing that I always think about is like, these townhomes are a place, the reason why we got into it, why Round Square even started, is we noticed there was a gap. Yeah. When you move from the Beltline and you wanted to move into the inner city, you had to move into a semi.
Yes.
There was no other option.
No.
And so for me, this was like the way to bring families back to the inner city. And so that's why I love this. And then when you talk about like those secondary suites and those like those things are going to help homeowners and they're going to start to look for it. Yeah. I actually don't believe that this will be rental forever. I think we're just in this like cyclicalness of this. So tell me what your thoughts are on that.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is there's a lot of mortgage renewals that are going to happen over the next 2 years. Mm. And if there's an opportunity for those to be able to all of a sudden have some income coming into their home that can help them offset that mortgage renewal, that actually could be a thing.
Yeah.
Because there was a video we shot, probably a couple months ago now, where someone who grew $200,000 or more of equity wasn't able to afford their home if they renewed it.
Wow.
And so that's a reality in our market moving forward in the next couple of years because of where prices, just because you've got a couple $100,000 growth, doesn't mean you're just going to be able to afford it because your income didn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Maybe your spouse passed away.
Yeah.
Maybe something happened.
Yeah.
But you want to stay in that house.
Yeah.
But we've actually helped people who are not able to stay in that property and they have to downsize. But if they were able to do something with their property, they just want to live upstairs and they put a suite in. Yeah. And now they can have $1,000 a month or whatever coming in.
Yeah.
That actually could help offset for their renewal of a mortgage.
Yeah. No, it's cool. So you know this, obviously, Jared, that we started middle school for this exact reason, was like, how do we actually start to enable homeowners who are like equity trapped in a sense, even when their homes are paid off, like they have nowhere to go. They can't age in community. And so the only reason that I thought middle school would work was to say, first of all, I believe if neighbors are renting from neighbors, they're going to be more friendly in terms of what their increase in rent rates. And so, you know,
it's human to human.
Yeah. My vision for this was like, how do we actually allow not just developers like myself or whoever we're operating in these communities and REITs and pension funds to own real estate, but if each one of us could own an 8 unit, we could welcome our family and our communities and other folks to live with us on our sites. And so I guess like from your perspective,
it's like downsizing the acreage living. Hey?
It is,
it's like subdividing your acreage.
Yeah, I mean, it's micro communities, right? Totally. Like these sites are big enough to do that. But I guess like, you know, for me, I guess my question to you is like, how do I get the industry, even from the real estate side, engaged in this idea of like, I just want to train you and give you the information. So not only are you aware, but your clients are aware.
Totally. Take out emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if people, specifically agents, one of the things we try to do is I have my opinions and I have my sides.
Yeah.
But I'm going to see both sides.
Sure.
And that's, I think, a little bit different. Yesterday, I got interviewed on the news, some news channel literally took me 20 seconds, but anyways. But the guy, the news anchor, he really wanted me to say something. But I was like, no, like this is good and bad.
Got it.
And it's both sides.
Yeah.
Where most agents, the agent that didn't want to do the interview, he's so against all of this.
Sure.
So he's like, it's not the right thing for me.
Yeah.
And so, or to do this interview. And so I think if agents are able to see the perspective, and if you're truly actually advising your clients on how to do this or anything in real estate, you kind of need to understand what the options are.
100%.
And so if you understand the options, just because you believe something doesn't mean they believe something.
Totally.
And so you have to be able to present that.
Yeah.
So that truthfully is my gut in it, but that cancels out everything I just said. People are emotional.
I get it. And I think
you were like, no, out of my backyard or whatever.
For me, it's like, I just want to inform folks about what their potential is.
What are the options?
Yeah. So if you're an agent and you're representing a client, or you're an agent and you're looking to do this, like we had Jeff on here who I told you about, it's like, I just want to make sure you know what it takes to get this done from start to finish. And so my shout out is to any agents out there, like, come to middle school. Let me inform you about the last 10 years of our experiences so you can inform your clients and like have a better understanding of. And I'm not saying you have to love it. Like, of course not. And I'm not saying anybody has to do it. I just want you to know what the value of your home is. And the more we can unpack that and unlock it, this was my whole thing that I was saying was like, right now, there's these kind of like phantom land lifts that are happening because developers are buying when homeowners don't know what their land is worth.
Options are.
Yeah. So it's like, let me at least give you everything. So when you take it to your agent or your agent brings it to you, it says, your home is this. But if we actually put a little bit more money into it and get a building permit with this, your home could be worth this and mobilize if you're going to sell anyways. So anyways, that's my pitch. Cool. I appreciate you coming on, man. It means a lot.
I appreciate it.
I think all the information you're sharing, and so if you're out there and you're watching, Jared's on YouTube way more often than I am, sharing killer content.
For now. You're getting up there.
Make sure you give him a follow. So no, it's awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
See ya, man.